All right, so I don't think everyone made every share. So we're going to do a quick summary of the different categories, summary / pop quiz, different categories, and the halachas of each category. Again, muktzah is generally used as a blanket term for all these categories. A muktzah really refers to category A. Category A is things that do not have a use on Shabbos. They don't have a use. For example, raw meat. Easiest example. There's no way you can use it on Shabbos because you can't cook it on Shabbos. So muktzah means you set it aside. Mentally, you set it aside. I'm not going to use it on Shabbos. The first one I'm going to pick on is Yehuda. Is there any scenario you can move raw meat on Shabbos?
If you need something under it, I don't know. Probably not.
So the answer is no. There's steak tartare. Okay, we're talking about there are certain meats that could be used for that, but we're talking about the general scenario. If you have a steak in here. So the answer is no. This category of muktzah, something which was mentally set aside, cannot be handled under any circumstances. Okay?
What do I lose?
You lose points. Moshe Chaim was about to send you a gift and he just canceled it at the Amazon order. I'll send it anyways. All right, so the kid discusses that in length, what that means exactly, something that's out of your mind. That's the general category. Category number 2 is noilad, something which literally means something which was born, something which came into existence on Shabbos, it did not exist before Shabbos, or it came into its current state on Shabbos. Like an apple was, when Shabbos began, it was still hanging from the tree, and it was plucked today, it was picked today, means when Shabbos began, it was inaccessible. Now, in middle of Shabbos, it became accessible. I'll pick on Moshe for that one. Moshe, is there any scenario you could handle noilad on Shabbos? I have to turn your mic.
Which?
Oh, sorry. Let's try again. No, you're still on mute.
Is there any circumstance whatsoever in the whole world?
No, it doesn't mean obviously if there's something, someone's dying and you need to get them an apple. Normal.
In general, no, it's not permitted.
I'm not doing any trick questions over here. If someone's dying and he needs to get an apple from the tree, no, regular scenario.
No.
Moshe says no, that's correct. Noilad can't be handled. The third category is what is called a kalim shemalachtam le'isur, a utensil, whose main function is to do something forbidden on Shabbos, like a hammer. A hammer's main function is to build or to repair. Is there any scenario? Is door going around the screen? Is there any scenario you could use a hammer on Shabbos?
Sure, if it was set aside prior to Shabbos for a Shabbos use. And the hammer's a good example for kind of breaking nuts.
So you're mixing two categories. So 50%. Setting it aside before Shabbos, it's the next category. Over here, even if you didn't set aside, a hammer is used as a hammer, but you see it and you want to crack nuts with it, you want to use it for a permitted use, that is fine. As long as the use is permitted, you can use the hammer. If you want to crack nuts, you want to slice it, break open a watermelon with a hammer, that's fine. The second scenario will be fine if the hammer is sitting on your chair and you want to use the chair. Or if the hammer is sitting on your table and you need to use a table. So those two categories are called tzarech gufay, if you want to use it for permitted use, or tzarech mekoimo, you need its space. So this category C, which is called utensil, which is primary use, is a forbidden act, could be used in two scenarios. If it's necessary for permitted action, or if you need it for its space. Category number 4 is muktzah machmas chesron kiss, a item which is you're scared to use. You're not going to use it for anything else because it's expensive. a computer, a wallet, that you're worried that you don't want it to lose value. A shchita knife. If you're a shochet, or you have, or Moshe Gutman's science things. I don't know what or anything you use for a business. Yehuda's instruments. So all those things are muktzah on Shabbos. Now I'll pick on Yehuda because I mentioned him last. Is there any scenario you could use those? If you decide you want to use your guitar to smash open nuts, are you allowed to do that?
No, but
No,
in my case, I think I should be able to, because sometimes.
But if something's this fourth category is expensive muktzah, something you're worried about because of its monetary value that cannot be handled for any reason. Category number 5. Category number 5, something which is not a utensil, rocks, earth, grass, wood, just not beams of wood, but just pieces of wood. So this is a door. This is are you allowed to handle a rock on Shabbos? I'll pick up pebbles.
No, it has no inherent function in Shabbos.
Unless, like you said last time, unless you set aside that rock as a table decoration before Shabbos, or set aside the wood as a toothpick, whatever it is. So generally, no, but if you set it aside before Shabbos, then yes.
You just gave me new decorating ideas for tomorrow. Thank you.
Don't blame it on me. My wife asked me what the rocks are doing on the table. It was not my idea. And the final category.
Stay in my head, though. Okay.
And the final category there's 2 categories in this one. Maybe a hint. Is a utensil which whose primary purpose is for a permitted act. A fork, a spoon, a plate, a knife, a pot, a bowl. Now, Yehuda, actually Moshe, you go around. Is there any scenario where a fork could be forbidden to handle on Shabbos? Obviously, they're allowed to use a fork to eat. Is there any scenario where you're not allowed to handle it? Moshe, you're on mute. Moshe, I'm picking on you this time. I can't hear you. What? Now, Moshe Gutman.
Well, if you put muktzah on top of it, you might not be able to use it.
That's true. I'm looking for something more.
If you decide or say you're not going to use it, that would do
That's
it.
not brought on the kitzur. That might be a good chop.
Okay, never mind. Then if you put it inside something that's
The kitzur says if you're handling it for no purpose at all. Use a fork to eat. Use a fork. You need it because you want to. You need a space because you use a fork because you don't want it to fall on the ground and hurt someone. You don't want it to get stolen. Those are all for a purpose, as long as there's some purpose involved. To move a
Or
fork,
if it's a pitchfork.
then that's probably the previous category. But to use a fork, to handle a fork or a plate for absolutely no reason is forbidden. It's not allowed to. Now, which 2 categories do not fall under that rule? You can handle them for absolutely any reason. Which 2 categories you can handle them for no reason at all?
Shabbos books, and I don't remember the other one. Food.
Holy books.
Food. Holy books and food.
Very good. Holy books and food, you can handle them even if you're just playing with your food. Your mother might not be happy, but that's fine. That is all the categories of Shabbos. And now we will continue with halacha number 10. So up to chapter 88, halacha number 10. We want some details of muktzah. Now we know the categories. If you have earth or sand that was piled in a corner of your house, in a courtyard or in a house, it is permitted to be moved. Because since, even though usually we just said about a minute ago that earth and sand is muktzah, it's not utensils, can't be handled. That's generally. But over here, you piled it up. Zuhi has piling up in the corner. You're designating it for use. You obviously want to use that mud or that sand. However, if your child came in and just dumped mud all over the ground or sand, spread over, it's not a corner. But the lagaba karka, then it's considered insignificant to the ground. Also, betulto is not considered a pile, its own thing, which means you designated it. Now, just you have some sand on top of your floor. That is forbidden to be handled like sand outside. Same thing as before Shabbos, you went and cut off a branch of a tree. To use it to wave and to shoo away flies, using it as a fly swatter. You are allowed to handle it and use it on Shabbos. Because before Shabbos, on Friday, you set this aside. It's no longer just a plain tree branch, it's your fly swatter. And by designating it, you made it into a utensil. However, you cannot on Shabbos take out a branch from a broom. Broom used to be made out of branches. You can't, pull one out.
Still is here.
Huh?
Still made from branches here.
So then you cannot pulling out brooms from branches. Sharei Muktzah, because that is Muktzah. Before Shabbos, that stick was part of the broom, was not as designated as a fly swatter. Even if the non-Jew pulled off that branch to use as a fly swatter, and he puts it on the table and says, Here, my friend Meshach Chaim, here's a branch to use as a fly swatter. You can't use it. Why? Because there's any item on Shabbos, it retains its status that began Shabbos with. If when Shabbos began, the item was forbidden, was muktzah, it remains muktzah throughout Shabbos. So that branch, when Shabbos began, it was part of the broom. So it doesn't make a difference that now the status changed. The halacha remains the same. But right now, it's sitting on a table and the non-Jew designated as a fly swatter. That does not help.
Which would be worse, the touching the muktzah of the fly swatter or the fly that you're going to kill with it?
So you can't kill the
Shabbos.
fly. You can swat them.
You can't, right? That's the purpose of a fly swatter, right?
Talking about these branches, you obviously weren't killing flies with. Not helpful to kill the flies, just to swat them away. Okay. Primitive fly swatter. All right, halacha 11. The sarim shabale batim boards of a householder she'enim eidim l'scher that are not meant to be sold. They're meant he wants to use them for personal use. Mutal tatam could be moved because they're considered a utensil. The shal uman also, but if they belong to a craftsman, a builder, also you cannot handle them. Why not? Why, if they belong to a craftsman, cannot handle them? Open mic.
Because they're a specialty tool, and you can't use a specialty tool because nobody would use that as like something for like cracking.
Very good. You would have got the answer. It's for him. He makes things with wood. He's a craftsman. For him, it's his tool, the tool of his work. He doesn't want you to just go use that. You might get ruined. You're messing up his business. The same thing as Yehuda's guitars. Or a wallet, that can't be handled. Unless the craftsman, before Shabbos began, he said, I need an extra bench. I'm going to take this board, and I'll put it on top of 2 chairs, I'll make a bench out of it. But then in that scenario, before Shabbos began, he designated it as for a proper use on Shabbos, and he could use it on Shabbos, handle it. All right, halacha number 12. A muktzah item is only forbidden to be moved. But if you're only touching it, and by touching it, you're not actually moving it, the object is not moving, that is permitted. Therefore, you are allowed to touch a standing lamp. Talking about a heavier lamp, doesn't move. But even if there are lit candles in it, because you're not moving it, you're just touching it. That's why whenever I say touch it, I catch myself. I can't handle muktzah. You can touch muktzah, you can't handle muktzah. Same thing, you're allowed to take, if you have a permissible item that is laying on top of a muktzah item, you're allowed to take that permitted item off. So you're not directly handling the muktzah. I will also but it's forbidden to touch a hanging lamp. Because a hanging lamp, you give a slight touch, you're moving it. You're allowed to cover a muktzah item with a non-muktzah item because it's raining or some other reason. So you left your laptop outside and it started to rain, you can't move the laptop. Doesn't matter how much money you're going to lose, you cover it with a raincoat or a garbage bag, that is fine. All right, so again, you're allowed to touch muktzah. You're not allowed to handle muktzah. You're allowed to lean against the tree. Leaning against the trees could be other issues. You're allowed to touch the grass outside. You're allowed to touch the tree. Allowed to all these type of things. If you have a nice silver candelabra in your house, like the Shabbos candles, as long as it's nice and heavy, it's not going to move. You're allowed to touch it on Shabbos. You just cannot move it around. Lacha 13. Moving an object indirectly. Mutter b'muktzah is permitted with a muktzah item. Let's say you forgot a muktzah item on top of another utensil. Or it fell there on Shabbos. Okay? You had a muktzah item on your wallet, on a bookshelf, and on Shabbos came, it fell onto your table somehow. Or you left your wallet on your table on Shabbos, and now you don't want your wallet sitting there by the meal. So if you need that the permitted utensil, you need it for use, like the table, you want to use a table, or you need the place where the permitted item is sitting. You need a table, you don't need a table, but you need the area that it's on. Said you're allowed to shake the muktzah item off the permitted item, or at least as a kli l'makim acher, or to carry the entire table, entire utensil, the permitted utensil is another area, l'nar is a muktzah, and once it's in the second area, to shake the muktzah off. Okay, now a very practical example. So too you're allowed to do as following. Forgot money in a pocket of your garment. Especially now with Chol HaMoed, a lot of people wear Shabbos clothes on Chol HaMoed. Now, Chol HaMoed, you're going to be handling muktzah items. What happens if Yom Tov comes and you forgot to check your pockets, and an hour into Yom Tov, you put your hand in and you have money in there? Can't pull out money. Money's muktzah. Or you left your wallet or whatever it is, credit cards, whatever else you can put in your pocket. It's your Shabbos, it's your kapata, right? You have to wear it on Shabbos. So what do? You shake out the garment. Like if you said we shake out the table or whatever it is, you do the same thing with the garment. You shake out the garment. You don't touch the muktzah directly. You shake out the garment, and money falls out. You don't have to do it wherever you find it. If you're in your dining room, you don't have to shake it out in the dining room. You go take it to a secure area and then shake it out over there. But how about if in that scenario you don't actually need the kapata? You have another kapata, but you're worried about someone might come and take the money. Your children might come and look through your kapata and take the money, or your neighbor, or who knows what. So you don't need the permitted item. You need the muktzah item. You're trying to protect the muktzah item. That also lasses cane, it cannot be done. Let me ask you a question. Does this mean, let's say you light Shabbos candles with tea lights, okay? You don't use a nice fancy candelabra, you light tea lights. So you can't move the tea lights even after they're extinguished because, as we said, when Shabbos begins of Muktzah, they remain Muktzah. But how about maybe when Shabbos, every Shabbos morning, you come and you shake off your tablecloth and let the tea lights drop on the floor. Now you have more room. Is that allowed? So he says, no. Over there, you didn't forget the tea lights on the table. You didn't forget not like you forgot the money in your kapata. Over here, you specifically put the tea lights and you put the candles on the table. So now it's the bus is the davar usr. Now the tablecloth, along with the table, become a base for a forbidden item, and they also become an issue. The next chapter, chapter 89, is going to discuss the laws of a base. Now, his point is that everything we discussed over here in Halacha 13, if you forgot something, so the kapata does not have a real connection to the money. You forgot it in there. You wanted to take it out, or your wallet fell onto the table. He didn't specifically put it there. So the table itself, or the kapata itself, is fine. The problem is there's something forbidden inside the pocket or on the table. So you get rid of it by a roundabout way. But if you specifically put the wallet on the table, or you specifically left the money in your kapata on purpose, and now you want to get rid of it because you changed your mind, sorry, this is right now you made the table or the kapata a base for the forbidden item, and they become an issue as well. All right, let's continue. One more. The halacha 14 is a continuation. However, if you do not need the permitted item, you said before, if you need the table, you need the kapata, whatever it is. You don't need the table, you don't need the kapata. Also, you can't handle it at all. You can't move the table, you can't move the kapata. And therefore, you are not allowed to pick up a child. Even if we're talking about in your backyard, inside your house, there's no problem of carrying. Talking about muktzah issues only. If the child is holding a stone or a muktzah toy, you can't pick up the child. Because holding the child's hand is not considered a proper need. So you don't really need to hold the child. You don't need to pick up the child over here. You can hold his hand, you can walk with him. You don't need to actually pick him up. So there is no need. It's the same thing as moving the table when you don't need it. You're picking up the child when it's not really necessary. And by doing that, you're indirectly handling the muktzah as well. That can't be done. However, if the child is really wants his parents, you don't pick him up, he might fall ill. Like have a full-blown tantrum. Won't be good. And he also can't get him to give up the stone. He's very attached to the stone and to his parents. Because the child would scream and cry. Then he could pick up the child again if there's no carrying issues, if it's in a private domain. And then in that scenario, that is a case of it's necessary. You have to do it. You have to pick up the child. There's no other way out. If the child is not holding a rock, the child is holding a coin. Also, and he cannot even hold his hand. Can't even walk with him. Even though the child is walking on his own feet. Even if it's in a private domain, there's no carrying issues. Even if the child really wants his parents and has a very strong longing for his parents. Why? There's reason to be concerned. The coin might fall off the child's hand. And now you don't want to let money just roll away. Don't forget that it's Shabbos. Pick up the coin. In that scenario, not only are you handling muktzah in a roundabout way. You're directly picking up the muktzah. You're directly picking up that money. You can't handle muktzah directly, even if there's a risk that the child might become slightly ill. I'm not talking about a severe illness. Because there is no threat to life at all. Worst comes to worst, the child will have a major tantrum, might get a headache. No threat to life. So again, if it's a rock, you can't pick up the child because it's not necessary. Get the child to drop the rock, then pick him up. However, if the child refuses to drop the rock, and he really, really wants his father, he might get sick, then you could pick him up. It's considered necessary, and it's an indirect handling of the muktzah. However, if the child is holding money, in that case, we're worried the child might drop it, and the father might pick it up, might directly handle the muktzah. Then, in that scenario, you cannot even walk the child by holding his hand. It's again to drop the coin, and then you can continue. All right. Thank you everybody for joining.